Hello, welcome to the Smart Student. Today's video, I'm going to teach you how to write an abstract. And now, yes, I've made this video before, but I'm making it again because I found a different way to explain it. Not a more effective, but a different way to explain it that I think will help with your understanding. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain what an abstract is, and then I'm going to take you right into my computer and we're going to work through a real example. And then you want to stick around till the end because I'm going to show you the abstract in an actual research paper. And this, I think, is the key part of learning how to write one. So first things first, I must disclaim that under APA 7th edition, abstracts are no longer a requirement of writing student papers. Professional papers, yes. But when it comes to student papers, you're only going to include it in your research papers if your professor asks for one, if it's a requirement of your assignment. And now I will say that it's actually a good skill to learn how to write one, so let's do this. Now, what is an abstract? Basically, it's a snapshot of your entire research paper. So it's the summary. Remember Spark Notes when you were a kid? You'd go read the Spark Notes to get the nutshell version before you had a book report because you didn't read the book? That's what an abstract is. If someone read that abstract, they would have an idea, a snapshot of everything in your research paper. Not everything, but the general summary of it. And so because of this, it should contain 4 components that reflect the 4 main sections of your research paper. In other words, it should contain the objective. What is the purpose of your paper? Then it needs to contain a section about your methods. What methods are you using in your research? Then what were the results after you used those methods, after you conducted your research? And finally, a brief section about your findings. What was your conclusion? What did you discuss in your discussion? So those are the 4 main components. One quick note I'd like to make before we jump into my computer is that these 4 components are not to be confused with your introduction. The only portion that might reflect your introduction is the objective, the purpose of your research, because typically that's going to be contained in your actual introduction. If you need help deciphering the difference between introductions and abstracts, I have a video on that. But now let's go ahead and jump into my computer and move on to the example portion so you can see what I'm doing while I do it. All right, let's go. And here we are. Welcome to my computer. So the first thing we're going to cover briefly is formatting for an abstract. So as you can see right here, I have my paper opened to my title page. The reason is because your abstract is going to be the second page directly after your title page. So in other words, your introduction in this case, when you have an abstract, is going to start on page 3. As you see, I have the title of my paper here, signifying the introduction section of the main body of my paper. So going back to the abstract, here's what you need to know when it comes to formatting. 1, the font size and type stays the same. You still want to keep the page number in the right-hand side of the corner. It should follow the same double-space formatting as the rest of your paper. What's different about the abstract is that, if you'll note, the word abstract is typed out in boldface center in the center of your paper. You always want to start with that. You'll never use any other title variations, if you will. You'll always use the word abstract to signify that it's the abstract. Next, if you'll note, the actual abstract kind of looks like a paragraph, but there's no indentation anywhere. This is because you want to include the abstract as a long block text formatting, meaning that you're not going to indent the first line. Now, when it comes to how long your abstract should be, as a rule of thumb, you want to keep it at 250 words or fewer. So I'm using Google Docs. If I were to check the word count here, I would highlight all the words in the abstract, not the word abstract itself or the keywords. I would come up here to Tools, select Word Count, and as you can see, we have 163 words. So we're good to go there. Now the final portion in your abstract is going to be the keyword section. And basically, keywords are relatively 5 to 7 words that describe your paper. So these are the main terms that come up periodically in your writing. When it comes to the formatting of your keywords, if you'll note, the word keywords itself is italicized, signifying that it's not a part of the abstract. Then you would type out your handful of keywords. After, the only thing I want to point out here is that note that the keywords are not capitalized. The only time you would capitalize your keyword is if it's a proper noun. Very simple. Now let's go ahead and cover what is in this abstract so you know how to write it. Okay, so remember how I said all abstracts contain those 4 components? That's exactly how I want to break this down for you, is per component. So as you can see here, we have the objective, methods, results, and conclusion. I'm going to read through each one and we'll talk about it briefly. Okay, to open your abstract, it's great to start with the objective. So in this example, what we have here is nursing professions demand the skills necessary for working busy schedules in stressful situations and handling unexpected emergencies in the hospital. There is a need to inoculate good time management skills and reduction in procrastination to prepare students to work in a hospital as a nurse. So as you can see here, the objective, it's what the goal of the research is. So we know exactly who the target audience is. We're talking about nursing students, and what our claim is. And that is that there's a need for good time management and a reduction in procrastination in schooling for nursing students to be successful in their profession. Great, now that we know what we're studying, well, logically, the methods is a great section to include next to tell the reader how we studied it. So what we have here is this cross-sectional study focused on assessing the procrastination and time management skills in regard to the relationship with academic stress among 201 undergraduate nursing students in a private college of South India. Awesome. Do you see how that one sentence there is specific enough without going overboard to tell the reader what study was done for the research? So now that we know the methods, this would be a great time to add in the results. So after doing this study, what did you learn? Here we have findings show that mean of procrastination was 88.05, which is above the mean score of the tool indicating lesser procrastination by the undergraduate nursing students. There was a positive correlation between procrastination and academic stress, with time wasting and academic stress among the undergraduate nursing students, which is statistically significant at 0.05 level of significance. That was a mouthful. But again, do you see how for the results, we're cutting to the chase? This is exactly what we learned in our study. You want to be as specific as possible, but also as concise, because, well, we're going to have a full results section to dive into this further. So finally, the 4th component of your abstract is going to be your conclusion. So now that we know the objective, the methods, and the results, what was the conclusion? In brief, the conclusion of this research was this. This study implies that helping the undergraduate students for effective time management for reducing the academic stress and better performance is essential for success. Very simple. This is what the student concluded after doing their research. And so those 4 components, I hope it makes sense now, when strung together is the best formula for creating an abstract, because that's exactly what should be included. The last couple things I want to point out that'll help you write abstracts every time is, if you'll note, each section, no more than 2 sentences. 1 to 2 sentences should be enough for you to convey the snapshot of each of those sections. Now, also, I want to talk about the language. And so this is what I really wanted to show you guys, because I think this is helpful in understanding these 4 components. So for example, our first component is our objective. So you want to use language in there that signifies to the reader that this is the objective. So for instance, we have our opening statement followed by there is a need to. So this right here, there is a need, that's our objective. We have our topic and our objective in what we want to study about our topic. Next, looking at our methods, to signify that it's the methods, what method did you use? What type of study? Go ahead and open with that. That's very effective. We have this cross-sectional study focused, signifying to the reader that, okay, yeah, this is the method we used to study this objective. And then next, what were the results? So go ahead and dive right into what the results are as well. What was it? There was a positive correlation between ... So again, you're building on your research paper, objective, method, results, and then finally the conclusion. Again, use some language to signify that this is what you learned in this study. So here we have this study implies followed by our conclusion. So I think that's a great way to approach your abstracts, is understanding that you're just linking the highlights from the main sections in your research paper. Now, let me show you this abstract in an actual research paper so you can fully understand this concept. Okay, I rearranged my screen so we can look at the research paper aside these 4 components. And first, we want to thank this writer right here who provided this excellent example. But all right, this is an actual published paper, so keep that in mind. If you're a student, you're going to follow the formatting I gave you. Now let's go through this. All right. The objective is your first main point in your abstract. Why? Because that's the first main section in your paper. The objective is going to be included in your introduction. As you can see, we're talking about procrastination and how it's prevailing in academic settings, causing negative consequences. We come down over here and we talk about nursing students and how time management. And so these are all of our objectives in our introduction. And basically, this sentence right here is the concise snapshot of this first section. Now, as you probably guessed, right after the introduction, well, there's your methods. And that's exactly what is next in the abstract, is that snapshot of what methods you used to study your objective. Going down the line, I do want to point out how there are other sections in a research paper. For example, we have instruments, data collection and analysis. Why aren't we including that in our abstract? Well, because those are subsections of the main section, methods. So as long as you capture the methods correctly, you're good. Because the next main section would then be the results. And again, the results has a handful of subsection as well. We have sample characteristics, description of procrastination, relationship between the variables. All of those are subsections. And so we don't need to capture each one of those, simply what the main leading results of the study were. And then going down the line, we do have 2 other sections down here, which is the discussion and the conclusion. And so you may think, why not include the discussion? Because that is a main section. Simply put, the discussion doesn't belong in your abstract because, well, the conclusion is kind of the summarized version of the discussion. And so that's why it's okay to jump right down to the conclusion. Ask yourself what even the condensed version of that is, and that's what you want to use to conclude out your abstract. So now, having looked through this research paper, you can see how our abstract is just a brief glimpse into what the research paper is about. I know how confusing they are to write, but they really are that simple. All right, friends, we're back. Let me know down below if that helped with your understanding of exactly how to write an abstract, what it is and how to do it, because at the end of the day, that's my goal for you, is that you leave here with some clarity. You're also welcome to just say hello down below. I love knowing where you guys are from in the world, what you guys are studying. And so don't be afraid to try and make some conversation with me, because there's a good chance that I might talk back depending on how busy I am. But speaking of that, I am busy right now, so I'm gonna get back to work. I'll see you guys in the next video.